everyone. It's Lighthouse Angel Messages. Welcome, welcome. Happy Wednesday to you. I am just doing a collective reading just to see what energies you need to know about, what information you need to get your life moving forward so you can expand, grow, and move towards the best version of yourself. On this channel, we focus on taking you from zero to hero in your own life. So take what resonates, leave the rest behind. But I am starting with just a message that I'm called to start the reading off with. And you may want to just jot this down, put it on a sticky note, put it in your journal, something that you can look back to as you're called. But it's just something for you to think about, bring to your awareness, okay? And what I'm being called to say is, build a life that doesn't require a stage and has a solid foundation of internal validation. Okay, I'll read that again. Build a life that doesn't require a stage and has a solid foundation on internal validation. Okay, and that's all about getting what you need for yourself within yourself, right? Loving yourself, validating self, knowing your worth, knowing your value, doing your healing work, right? Not going out of yourself to be seen or heard or validated, right? You already know that truth by walking in that, okay? Because if you're not whole inside, you'll seek out that validation and it's just going to be empty. It may give you an instant high by obtaining those likes or that validation, but it quickly fades, right? You need to go within and feel that void with healing, focusing on doing that healing work with the divine, so you can put you back together so you're whole and so you're not looking out of yourself for anything. That's where your true power is, right? Because you won't settle or be manipulated by outside sources, right? Because you know your truth. All right, so just keep that in mind. And then I already pulled some cards that I was called to for the overall energy. And then we'll get some messages from the box of wisdom, okay? It says, clearing. A true offering arises. It becomes easy to let go. You start to trust that more will always arrive. You shift from mine, to God's. Such freedom. And freedom has been the theme in the last couple of readings that I've done. So it seems like we're still in the energy of that freedom. Right? And then the next card is number 10. You could be seeing 1010. If so, that's a confirmation. Disappointment is not the end. There is hope even in the darkest of nights. Okay? And what I'm getting with this is that what you're clearing out, and take this as it resonates, right? But it's like you've ended a cycle, right? And you're clearing out the remaining pieces of that cycle, right? Surrendering to the divine. And through this clearing, there's a new opportunity that's arising for you, right? That you need to be willing to let go of the past, let go of things to maybe accept this new opportunity. And it may feel like you may have to give up something for this. It may feel like a disappointment but it's not, okay? It was part of the cycle that you need to release, close down, and move on for the new, right? And then at the bottom of the deck for that deck, and I felt it was very valuable with going with that card, is number 3. You could be seeing 333. Be present It says find clarity in the moment. So, if you are going through a transition where the old is getting cleared out, maybe a new opportunity is coming in, and maybe it requires you to shift things around or let things go, you need to be in the moment, okay? I'm also seeing the full moon here. This could be coming in during the full moon, the next full moon. But I'm going to get some more cards. We'll get one more card and then some messages from the wisdom box. So just make sure you're staying in the moment as you go through this transition, and allow anything that comes to the surface to be released, because that's part of the residual part of this cycle that's closing out here. Okay? You could also be, what I'm also getting with this moon energy is that maybe you've been more emotional lately than you have in the past. Okay? Make sure you listen and take a good look at and deal with and release those emotions or those past pains or whatever is trying to surface itself. Make sure that you look at it, you feel it, and you release it, right? And continue to allow God to guide you on your path. That's where the freedom is. Okay? All right, let me get one more card. What else does the collective need to know? Don't let your past hold you back. Yes, that's what I was just saying. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and this is all about your past being, and this came up in another reading. It is about the last cycle that you were in your south node, okay? And if you're not familiar, your south node is your shadow side, okay? And that's like where all the devil energy is at, right? And when we go, if we're operating out of our south node, that's a season of lessons, right? Things you're supposed to learn, teach you through why you're working on those south node issues, right? So you can learn in the cycle and move out of that, right? But if you don't learn the lessons, then you get stuck in the south node, in your shadow energy, which is your ego, any, addictions, anything that is not in alignment with the light, right? Fear, worry, that's all south node. Okay? And this is the cycle that you're ending, right? That's getting cleared out, right? And so, and be present, because I feel it says, find clarity in the moment. I feel like the divine is giving you that clarity. Could be through signs, synchronicities, sound confirmations. They're giving you that clarity. Maybe, I'm also with this moon energy, I'm getting, and it looks like an eye here. It's like what was hidden is coming to light, maybe through visions, through signs. That's where the divine is giving you that clarity. Okay? And whatever may feel like a disappointment, okay, just know that it's part of the divine plan, okay? Which is why they don't want your past to hold you back, okay? Continue to allow this clearing to happen, okay? Maybe get out in nature, there's water here and trees. Maybe you need to get out where there's trees and water, or maybe do more meditation, anything to clear out that energy. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get some messages from the box of wisdom so we can get more clarity on what you need to know, on what you need to clear out. And, my whole goal is to get you, unstuck, moving forward, and not willing to settle for where you are, right? Growing and expanding and seeking that best version of yourself, which is in aligned with the divine. Okay. Dream big. Yeah. And I feel like by this being cleared out, something big is replacing it. As the divine closes one door, another door opens, right? He is the doorkeeper. So make sure you're surrendered and allowing things to go with the flow, right? Not resisting the change. Okay. It says, mindset is everything. Okay? Now, what I'm getting with that is, mindset is everything when it comes to this change or what you may see as a disappointment, or maybe there's some kind of clarity that comes in. Maybe something that was hidden comes to light, right? I think it's, you have to, look at it in a higher perspective, right? See it in the light. And how, if it is as what you see as a disappointment, how you can turn that around and alchemize that into power in your life, right? Because it's all about mindset. You can look at it negatively and then you just get more of that, or you can transform that into fuel and power for great change, okay? We have the number 3, which is this number. Be present. Find clarity in the moment. So this is just another confirmation from Spirit that you need to be present in the moment, okay? As all this stuff clears, you may be feeling more anxiety than normal, okay? Make sure you're doing, taking the time out for yourself to kind of ground yourself and get balanced when you can, okay? Because sometimes when the divine is ready to deliver something like this, right? You're going to feel it before it arrives. So you're going to feel it in the energy. It's almost like energetically, he's setting you up for it for its arrival, right? Even though you can't see it yet. So you may feel the shift of energy. You may feel anxious. Okay, just make sure you stay grounded. And it says, forget the mistake, remember the lesson. Yeah, that's what you've learned while you were in the South Node here, where you learned those lessons, right? And I also believe I'm speaking to someone who changed, really worked on their mindset, flipping the script and not being the victim, but being the hero in your life. Okay, working with the divine, letting him guide you. And I'm also seeing that this mindset reminds me of a rainbow. It's like by changing your mindset, you're no longer in the storm, right? Your rainbow is arriving. Never stop looking up. Yeah, never stop seeking the divine. Never stop seeking the divine in your life. Make sure he's number one and allow him to guide you so that you can be on your divine path, right? Because that's where all your blessings are, right? That's where all your blessings that he's holding for you, right? But you got to get on the path. right? You can't, if you're controlling the outcome or controlling how things happen in your life, then you're not making room for him to make the moves, right? And he knows what's better for you than you do. So it's better just to get out of your own way, surrender, and be focused on your alignment with the divine, staying high vibe, staying positive, focusing on your manifestations, and every day waking up with the attitude of gratitude, and changing that vibration, right? And working on your healing. It's like all these things have to come into play to get that alignment where where it kind of opens up opportunities and your gifts from the divine, right? So stay on that path. Continue to make the divine number one. Never stop looking up, even if you feel there's a disappointment here, okay? Because it's a lesson, right? It also can, I just got this. It also could be an end of a cycle of disappointment. Because what really stuck out to me on this card, it says number 10 and disappointment. So if you feel like you've constantly been disappointed in people, disappointed in opportunities, disappointed in life in general and how it's been treating you, that cycle is coming to an end. It could have been part of past karma, from the South Node, but it's all being like wiped clean here, okay? So keep surrendered to the path, keep your high vibe, keep prayed up, right? And keep that close connection with the divine. Take a quiet walk with Mother Nature. It will nurture your mind, body, and soul. Yeah, and it's funny, it looks exactly like this card. So there's definitely a need to get out in nature. Okay, go for a walk. All right, if you're short on time, 10 minutes, right, can do a great deal of improvement to how you're feeling when it comes to your mind, body, and soul, right? Just getting grounded right now. Okay, so make the time. Okay. May the God of hope fill you with joy and peace as you trust in him. Romans 15:13. Yeah, and whoever I'm speaking to, if this is your message, you're heavily connected to the divine, right? Nature may be your solitude, the thing that you go to for that connection. I'm hearing that as well, right? But you've never stopped having faith, having hope, unwavering faith, and just knowing and having that trust in him, right, for this journey, right? Because I feel like you learned a lot of lessons in this South Node that caused you to reconnect with the divine, right? A constant cycle of disappointment. Okay? But nothing is wasted, right? Everything teaches you a lesson, and through those lessons and through the pain, it shapes you. It's just whether or not, it all comes down to what are your choices when it comes to the pain? Do you choose to heal? Do you choose to stay stuck? They're all choices. You can choose to do nothing. It's still a choice, right? Or do you turn the pain into power and transformation elevating, rising above the situation, rising above what happened to you, and putting your trust and faith in the divine, right? I believe, that's what you did. And now, and in the time of doing this, you really worked on manifestation techniques, focusing on the law of attraction and bringing in your dreams, right? Through your mindset and trusting that God will deliver. It says, God says, those who hope in me will not be disappointed. Isaiah 49:23. Again, it's talking about hope, God of hope, right? You won't be disappointed. You won't be disappointed. You just got to have trust in Him. And, part of that trust is surrendering, especially for those of us who you've been raised to, like, okay, you got to make everything happen or nothing's going to happen. Part of the hardest part of that is not doing anything, especially if you're a highly driven person who is always having and learned from a very young age that you have to get things done or nothing happens, right? So sometimes we just need to sit back and trust and let the divine guide us, okay? Make sure that you're paying attention to any signs and synchronicities as well, because those are the guiding light of where He's taking you. Addiction is giving up everything for one thing. Recovery is giving up one thing for everything. Okay, you may have dealt with addiction in the past, or this may have been a cycle in the past in the South Node that you were dealing with people who had addictions, and that's why you were always in a cycle of disappointment. Because you were never a priority. They were already in a relationship with something else. If that's your story, if you are currently in a relationship with someone who has an addiction, or that's been in a pattern in the past or something like that, anytime you enter a relationship with somebody who has addiction, and they can be the hardest ones, because some of the most kindest people, have been severely broken, and they choose to go to alcohol or drugs or whatever, and and then it's their choice, right, to stay stuck there. And it can be heartbreaking, because you can see how beautiful their soul and heart is, but if they don't choose that, what can you do, right? So sometimes those relationships are the hardest to release, especially if they're not interested in making any changes. So, or this could have been that you were in a cycle of picking people who had addictions, right? Anyway, the cycle is all coming to an end, right? Because now you're in line with the divine, right? You know your worth, you know your value, and you're ready for the new. You're releasing this, okay? When it comes to addiction, it's up to the person whether or not they want to make those changes, right? You can't save somebody who doesn't want to be saved, right? Let go and let God. Yeah, that's all about the surrender. And I was talking about that can be the hardest thing to do, right? Because especially maybe if you've been disappointed in the past, you're thinking like, oh my gosh, I just got to make things happen. Like, this constant disappointment is maddening, right? You still got to let go and let God, like, let him guide you. Don't get in his way of the blessings that he wants to bring into your life, okay? You got to trust in him, have unwavering faith, because right here, as he says in Isaiah, he's not going to disappoint you, okay? He's not going to disappoint you. It says, keep peace in your heart. Yeah, and that needs to be the focus right now. In letting go and letting God, you need to find that peace in your heart and in your soul, and trust and faith of your path, right? Despite the disappointments, despite what has happened, right? Because that's all clearing out. The past is getting cleared out here. Okay. All right. And don't I'm hearing as well, it's like, don't let fear get in your way. Okay? If you have surrendered, right? And you're seeing signs, and then fear creeps into your mind, and then you're starting to doubt, like, don't do that, because fear is an illusion. Okay? If the divine is guiding you, you need to listen. All you need is love. Yeah, and you know what? This is what I'm getting with this and this card, is that you were in this south node, okay? You may have been around a lot of people who had addictions, or surrounded by people who were egotistical or toxic or not good for you, right? While you were operating out of the energy of all you need is love. You could have been somebody who, had past traumas where you were never given any love or lacked any love from anyone. So that was something that you felt you needed to go chase down or go get or whatever. Like, what I'm getting with this is that love, what you were taught is that love doesn't come to you freely. It has to be earned, worked for, and chased, right? Because it was never given to you. So, but I feel like you had a genuine heart when it came to your south node, but the lesson you were meant to learn here is how to love yourself. That was the lesson when you were in the south node here. You might have been in a cycle of toxic relationships, right? Looking for love. Like that. I'm hearing this song they're putting in my head is that song. I'm not sure who sings it, but looking for love in all the wrong places. I don't know. I'm not sure who sings that, but and I feel like now that cycle is ending, right? You've learned how, you understand the lesson. You love yourself now. You require more. You're not operating out of your self node, right? You're ready for the new, right? You're highly connected with the divine now. And you go to the divine to find that love with the divine and going within yourself, right? And that's where the peace is, okay? But don't get caught up on, if you're having anxiety right now, maybe you're feeling the shift and you're wondering, what's going on, what's happening, I'm feeling like something is changing or something like that, right? You need to just get out and go for a walk and get grounded, okay? Smile at life and life will smile back at you. Yeah. And I feel like, despite any disappointments and people or cycles of the past, you're able to, even though you've learned the lesson, you're still able to smile at life. right? You know, you can go, because I'm really getting like this is really matching this here. And I feel like you really find peace and your soul really gets nurtured when you're out in nature, right? You might find yourself like just in a really, really intense positive energy when you're out in nature as well. Like it may just feel like home to you. You also could have a really deep connection with animals and wildlife. Okay, let's see. Never let the things you want make you forget the things you have. Yeah, and I'll say it again. Never let the things you want make you forget the things you have. Yeah, and this is all about operating out of the attitude of gratitude, you know, being grateful for what you have right now in this present moment. Yeah, bringing clarity to what you have right now and being grateful for what that is. Right? Because we all want things. I mean, doesn't mean that we're going to get them. So it's really important to just be grateful for where you're planted and grow where you're planted. And be grateful for that season because it will change. It's going to change. So you might as well just be grateful and smile at life where you are. Respect yourself and others will respect you. Yeah, this is all about, and I think this is what you learned. You know, you were all searching for love, right? And maybe you didn't respect yourself, so they didn't either. And it became this toxic cycle. But this is what you learn through the cycle, is that by respecting yourself, others will respect you. Meaning, you know, how you feel about yourself is what is reflected to others, and then that's what you attract. So if you don't love yourself, or you don't value yourself, or you don't respect yourself, or you have no boundaries, or anything like that, that's the energy that you're going to push out, and then you're going to attract all kinds of people who validate that. Okay? And then next thing you know, you're in another toxic loop with, you know, a different, same situation, different face, right? Because you haven't done that inner work. You know, to change the outside, you got to change the inside. So if you're in a cycle, you know, for those of you, you know, where maybe not this particular scenario resonates, but, you know, if you feel like you're in any kind of cycle in your life and you want to change it, it first starts with you. Like, you have to go within and you have to make those changes within yourself so that the outside of you, your environment, the people, the opportunities, everything can align with that change, right? But if you don't do any changing and then you're like, well, I don't understand why this keeps happening to me, or, you know, why nothing changes, you know, everything is the same, I'm always in the same cycle, I'm always having financial problems, I'm always having, you know, these same type of toxic people, and jobs and all of that. It's because that's what you're reflecting out. It's an energy exchange. So if you were to do the healing work, heal those traumas, and layer by layer, right? Changing your mindset, focusing on waking up every day in the attitude of gratitude, focusing on being grateful for everything that you have in your life right where you are, right? Making the divine number one in your life, and continuously focusing on high vibrational energy of the light, right? You know, aligning with that highest version of yourself. And that brings you the closest to the divine, okay? then once you do that, and it's not a flip of the switch, you don't wake up one day and do all this and then the next day, right? It takes time, effort, right? Because you're changing old patterns. So you have to wake up every day, just like you do every day. That, like, if you want to change your physique, you have to wake up every day and put the effort in. It's the same thing when it comes to your healing journey, right? But everybody focuses on morphing the outside, but what about morphing the inside, right? So you've got to do that work if you want to change what you're seeing in your environment. If you're like, man, how come that person always gets that or that or that? Okay, well, now you're in a low vibrational mindset. You shouldn't be comparing yourself to others. You have to go within and stay in your lane, focusing on your journey. Okay, because everybody's journey is different. Everybody has a different path, a different divine path, if they choose to get on it. And then, everybody has their own set of divine given gifts. So don't compare yourself to others. Be unique and stand in your own path, okay? Don't focus, don't let other people's lives distract you from achieving your best version, right? Because all that does is become a distraction from you working on yourself. Happiness is found when you stop comparing yourself to other people. That's just what I got done saying. And it's just like it's just like this color of this. Thank you, Spirit, for the confirmation. This is just like this card here. Being present. Happiness is found when you stop comparing yourself to other people. Because you got to focus on in your own lane. Focusing on the divine, your path, your mission, your purpose. Choosing to elevate, grow, and expand to the highest version where the divine is waiting to bless you. And through becoming that highest version of yourself, then whatever those divine gifts are or what those blessings are, then you're able to bless others. You're able to help the collective as a whole by doing so. But if you're focused on your own path and focusing more selfishly than divinely, then you get lost. You get lost and you end up in your south node, chasing love, looking for, things that are missing in your life. And when you're operating out of your south node, it's like those are where all the toxic relationships, are. It's a cycle of toxicity, but the harshest lessons, but the greatest transformation as well. So nothing is ever wasted. The divine says it's worse to sit and not make a decision at all than to make the wrong decision, because the divine will still make the wrong decision to benefit your life. He will flip it and somehow he will make it benefit your life. So those who are sitting in fear, afraid of making the wrong decision, there is no wrong decision, because he will turn it and flip it and make it benefit your life somehow. The wrong decision is actually making no decision, okay? Because you're not growing, you're not expanding, you're not doing anything. At least if you take action and maybe you go the wrong direction, that's okay, because the divine is guiding you. He'll flip it and get you back on the right path, or he'll somehow he'll teach you a lesson and it'll inspire you and grow into another path. He will make it benefit you somehow. But sitting there and not making a decision at all is the wrong decision. Okay? Sometimes the hardest part of the journey is believing you're worth the trip. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's pretty much what I was just saying. It's just you're worth taking that leap and not worried if you're going to make the wrong decision. Because if you continuously look up and you have the divine guiding you, right? You have that close connection, you have surrendered. He's not going to just leave you. He's going to make whatever decision that you make because you're moving forward. He will make it to benefit you somehow. It may not even seem like it at the time, but you will look back and be like, wow, I can see how the divine guided me there, and then I learned that, and now look where I am. Okay, so there's never a waste of anything. But when you're stagnant and stuck and choosing and making that choice to stay stuck by not making a decision, well then you're choosing comfort over freedom. And comfort doesn't bring freedom. It says, slow down, you're doing fine. Yeah, maybe you think things should be going faster, or the change should be faster, or maybe there's something you're working on and you think it should be happening faster. Maybe it's a business, a project, something. Spirit's saying you're on the right path. You can slow down. Also, I'm getting with this is that they don't want you to worry. Like maybe you're worried and so you're going faster, like, oh my gosh, I need to go faster. It's not happening like I thought. Okay, that's back to the chasing again, right? And not surrendering. And also take the rest that you need, right? If you need to slow down and take rest for yourself, you need to honor yourself, because that all falls back to respect, right? If you're constantly in the energy of self-sacrificing, well, then you're going to attract people that are demanding you to do that. Okay? It's an energy exchange. Once you can understand that, you can see the benefits of making the change. Just believe in your dreams. Yeah, and I'm getting, back to this card. It has stars on it. There's stars on here, and it's purple. It's like, be present and believe in your dreams. Okay? Be present and believe in your dreams. Because the divine is not going to disappoint. Okay? I am still learning. Yeah, learning and healing, it's not a destination, it's a journey. Okay? And if you're not learning and healing, you're not growing, you're not evolving, you're not elevating. You're staying stuck. Comfort zones, okay? That over time no longer become comfortable. They create a sense of constriction, right? They can also cause anxiety. If the divine is urging you to move forward and you're fighting it to stay stuck, that can create enormous amount of anxiety, because it's like swimming upstream. You're going against the path, the guidance. Okay? And your body and the energy, you're going to feel that. Okay? All right, so focus on being in the present moment and focusing on your dreams and knowing and keeping in that attitude of gratitude, keeping your trust in God, knowing that He's not going to disappoint you. right? And don't compare yourself to others. And let go as this stuff gets cleared out so this new door can open. Okay? Okay. So I'm going to get one last card. Actually, they want me to get this. I'm going to get an angel number card too as well. So what does the collective need to know to close up this reading? That might give them clarity. Okay. Another moon. Okay, so we have two moons here. So full moon can be significant. I'm also getting, you might have a vision during the full moon. The divine might deliver you a vision during the full moon. My outer experiences are a reflection of my internal condition. Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier about the energy exchange. Okay? It's like your outer experiences are going to reflect what's going inside of you. Okay? So let's say, I'm just going to use this as an example. You're like, well, I don't understand why I keep getting rejected, or I don't understand why those opportunities aren't coming in. Could be several different reasons. One of them is you could be in a waiting season. You could have done all the healing work and you're just in a season of waiting, right? Waiting for the divine to make the moves. And that's good. But what this is about is, if you're carrying around pain of the past, childhood traumas, any internal wounds, fears, worries, right? That energy gets, like I was saying, gets pushed out and it creates your outer experiences. So, basically, what you feel about yourself or how your internal feels is your outer experiences, and energy does not lie. So, if you think that, as long as the outside looks good, nobody will notice how messed up the inside is, that's a false statement, because they're going to know it by your energy. You are going to give off that energy no matter how you look. It's going to be given off and it's going to be received. Okay? So just keep that in mind. That's why healing is so, so, so important. If you're tired of the same cycle and you're tired of being stuck, right? It's because you've got to go within. You got to go within. And so there are so many people out there walking around wounded. And when you don't do the healing work, you just go around and keep wounding other people. And now they're wounded. And then they go around and hurt more people. And then it's just this crazy cycle where now it seems like the majority is more wounded than the actual amount of people that are healed, right? And that's sad, right? But you need to take the time for yourself to heal yourself on the inside, just as you would focus on the outside. Okay? All right, so then I'm going to get, this is an angel number card. They want me to get this. This is going to be, if you see this number, this is a confirmation that this is your reading, and so there's something very valuable in here for you, okay? All right, what angel number? Number 10. Oh, the synchronicities in this reading are awesome. Okay, we have number 10 here. 1010, I said at the beginning of the reading, 1010 says you have great leadership skills. Your mind is sharp and allows you to dream up ingenious ideas and organize all the details, then direct others how to carry things out. I am ingenious. And we have 10, disappointment. So what I'm getting with this, and there's stars on here, and there's one big, huge star here, is that the cycle of disappointment is coming to an end, and then the new cycle is starting, and it might be like some kind of leadership opportunity, or it could be your dreams being manifested. You know, if you're working on some kind of project or something like that. But if you're seeing 1010, this is definitely your reading, okay? Right? And, you know, if you are feeling more emotional right now than usual, right, you need to just go with the flow, okay? Allow that to come up and be released, okay? So you can clear all that. You don't want to bring the old into the new cycle, okay? All right, well, I hope this has resonated with you. I hope this information, there's something in here that can get you moving forward and taking action in your life. And I'm sending you so much love and light. Take care. Bye.